The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what secrets waited in the darkness between worlds. In the year 2147, Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched those stars drift slowly past the observation windows. They were farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled before. "How far are we now?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet in the humming silence of the ship. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Brooks checked his console and let out a low whistle. "We just passed the edge of map space, Captain. Everything from here on is unknown territory." Daniel nodded slowly. This was the moment they had trained for, the moment humanity had dreamed about since the first caveman looked up at the moon and wondered if he could touch it. They were pioneers now, sailing into an ocean that had no shore. Dr. Kate Sullivan entered the bridge with a tablet in her hands. She was the ship's chief xenobiologist, a scientist who had spent her entire career preparing for a moment that might never come, the chance to study alien life. She looked excited and nervous at the same time. "Captain, our sensors are picking up something strange," she said. "There's an object about 2 light minutes ahead. It's small, maybe the size of a car, but it's emitting signals on multiple frequencies." Daniel felt his heart beat faster. Natural or artificial? Kate shook her head. Definitely artificial. The signal patterns are too regular, too organized. "Captain, I think it's a probe." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If there was a probe out here, someone had built it. Someone had sent it. Humanity was not alone in the universe. "Take us closer," Daniel ordered. "But carefully, we don't know what we're dealing with." The horizon's edge moved through the void like a whale swimming through dark water. As they approached the object, its shape became clearer on their screens. It was a perfect sphere, covered in symbols that no human had ever seen before. Lights pulsed across its surface in rhythmic patterns. "It's broadcasting something," Ryan said. "A message, maybe. Kate, can you decode it?" Kate worked at her station for several minutes. The entire crew watched her, barely breathing. When she finally looked up, her face had gone pale. "I've got it," she said quietly. "But you're not going to like it." She transferred the message to the main screen. Strange symbols appeared, followed by a translation that the computer had managed to piece together. "Warning to all vessels. The Sol system is forbidden by order of the Ancient Ones. The star you call Sun is marked. Do not approach. Do not make contact with a species that dwells on the 3rd planet. Turn back. This is not a greeting. This is a warning." Daniel read the words 3 times. His mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. Someone had placed a probe at the edge of explored space, specifically to warn others away from Earth, away from humanity. "Why?" he asked. "Why would anyone want to keep others away from us?" Kate had no answer. None of them did. Over the next several hours, they tried to make contact with whoever had sent the probe. They broadcast messages of peace on every frequency they could manage. They sent mathematical equations, universal constants, anything that might show they were intelligent and friendly. Finally, they received a response. But it did not come from the probe. It came from somewhere much farther away, a signal that traveled across distances that made Daniel's head hurt to think about. A face appeared on their screen. It was not human. The being had gray skin, for eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth that seemed too wide for its narrow head. It wore something that looked like a uniform, decorated with symbols that might have been military ranks. "Human vessel," the creature said. Its voice was translated by their computer, but something in its tone needed no translation. It was afraid. "You should not have come this far. You should not have left your world at all." Daniel stepped forward. "I am Captain Daniel Carter of the Earthship Horizon's Edge. We come in peace. We want to establish contact with other species, to learn from each other, to stop." The alien held up a hand with too many fingers. "We know what you want. We have watched your species for a long time. You are curious, ambitious, and brave. In another universe, we might have welcomed you as friends. Then why won't you?" Daniel asked. The alien looked away from the screen. When it looked back, Daniel could see something in its four eyes that he recognized. Pure, deep, ancient terror. Because of what you are, the alien whispered. Because of what lives beneath your world. The Vethkari, the oldest beings in existence, have declared your star forbidden. They have watched your species since before you learned to walk upright. They do not fear you, human. They fear what sleeps beneath your feet. They fear what you carry inside you without knowing. Daniel felt cold despite the regulated temperature of the bridge. What are you talking about? What sleeps beneath Earth? The alien shook its head. I have already said too much. The Galactic Union does not speak of such things. Forget this conversation. Go back to your world. Live your short lives. And pray that the dreamer never wakes. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Daniel stood in silence for a long moment. Around him, his crew stared at blank consoles and empty space. They had come looking for answers, for friendship, for proof that humanity was not alone. Instead, they had found fear. They had found secrets. They had found a mystery that stretched back billions of years. What do we do now, Captain? Ryan asked quietly. Daniel looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient beings had marked Earth as forbidden. Somewhere beneath his homeworld, something called the Dreamer waited in the darkness. Humanity had wanted to know if they were special. Now they knew the answer. They just did not know if that was a good thing or a very, very bad one. We go home, Daniel said finally, and we find out what they're so afraid of. The horizon's edge turned and began its long journey back to Earth. Behind them, the alien probe continued its endless broadcast, warning the universe to stay away from the children of the Dreamer, the children who had no idea what they truly were. 6 months had passed since the horizon's edge returned to Earth with its impossible news. Humanity was not alone in the universe, but the universe wanted nothing to do with humanity. Ambassador Greg Palmer stood in the center of Nexus Point, a massive space station that floated in neutral territory between a dozen star systems. Aliens of every shape and size walked past him. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had bodies made of crystal or gas or things that human eyes could not properly see. All of them avoided him like he carried a disease. A group of tall, insect-like creatures crossed to the other side of the corridor when they saw him coming. A small being with tentacles and a single large. I literally ran away when Greg tried to say hello. He had been on the station for 3 weeks, and he had not managed to have a single real conversation with anyone. They hate us, Commander Nicole Hayes said. She was Greg's security chief, a soldier who had fought in 3 wars on Earth. She had never felt more useless than she did on this station. There was nothing to fight here, just cold shoulders and fearful glances. They don't hate us, Greg replied, though his voice lacked conviction. They're afraid of us. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, the result is the same. Greg could not argue with that. Every trade deal he proposed was rejected. Every diplomatic meeting was canceled at the last minute. Every attempt to join the Galactic Union was met with polite excuses that fooled no one. Humanity was unwelcome here, and everyone knew it. That night, Greg sat alone in his small quarters, staring out at the stars. He wondered if this was how it would always be. Humanity reaching for the cosmos, only to find that the cosmos wanted nothing to do with them. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find a creature he had never seen before. It was tall and thin, covered in green scales that shimmered in the station's artificial light. Its eyes were golden and ancient, filled with a wisdom that made Greg feel like a child. Ambassador Palmer, the creature said in a voice like rustling leaves. My name is Zethare. I am a historian of the Corvani people. May I come in? Greg stepped aside, his heart racing. This was the first time anyone had voluntarily approached him since he arrived. Zethare entered the room and looked around with those golden eyes. You must have many questions, he said, about why the galaxy treats your kind with such fear. I have nothing but questions, Greg admitted, and no one will give me answers. Zeta notets lao. What I am about to tell you is forbidden knowledge. If the Galactic Union discovers that I have spoken to you, I will be executed. But I am old, Ambassador. I have lived for 900 years, and I am tired of lies. Your species deserves to know the truth. Greg sat down, his legs suddenly weak. Tell me. Zethar took a deep breath, or whatever passed for breathing in his species. The Galactic Union was created 4 billion years ago by the Vethkari, the oldest beings in existence. They witnessed the birth of stars. They watched galaxies form. They have guided younger civilizations since before your sun existed. We know about the Vethkari, Greg said, but no one will tell us why they avoid Earth. Because they are terrified, Zethar replied simply. The Vethkari fear nothing in this universe. They have defeated threats that would drive lesser minds insane. But 3 billion years ago, they visited your solar system, and they found something that made them flee in terror. Greg leaned forward. What did they find? Zethar's golden eyes seemed to darken. Something was already there when they arrived. Something older than them. Something that had been sleeping inside your planet since its very formation. The Vethkari have a name for it, though they rarely speak aloud. They call it the Dreamer. The word hung in the air like a curse. The Dreamer is not a creature as you'd understand it. Zethar continued. It exists between dimensions, in spaces that even the Vethkari cannot comprehend. It chose your world as an anchor point in reality. It wove itself into Earth's core and fell into a sleep that has lasted for 4 billion years. Greg's mouth was dry. And humanity? What does this have to do with us? Zethar looked at him with something that might have been pity. You evolved in the shadow of the Dreamer, Ambassador. Your species developed on a world that contains something cosmic. The Vethkari believe that you are not entirely natural. They believe that the Dreamer's presence has shaped your evolution in ways that cannot be measured. Greg thought about humanity. Their endless wars and boundless creativity. Their capacity for terrible cruelty and amazing kindness. Their art, their music, their dreams. Were all those things touched by something ancient and unknowable? The Vethkari declared your star system forbidden, Zethar said. They erased all records of their visit. They told the younger species that Earth was dangerous, that humans were to be avoided. They hoped that by keeping your kind isolated, the Dreamer would never wake. But we didn't stay isolated, Greg said quietly. We built ships. We found the probe. We came here. Zethar nodded. And now the galaxy watches and waits. Some believe that your expansion will wake the Dreamer. Others believe it is already too late. Before Greg could respond, his communication device beeped urgently. Nicole's voice came through, tense and worried. Ambassador, you need to see this. Earth just sent an emergency transmission. There are strange seismic readings being detected all over the planet. Scientists are saying they've never seen anything like it. Greg looked at Zethar, and the old historian's face told him everything he needed to know. The readings form a pattern, Zethar said softly. A rhythm, perhaps, like something stirring in its sleep. Or something waking up, Greg whispered. Zethar stood and moved toward the door. I have told you what I know, Ambassador. What happens next is beyond my understanding. But I will say this. The Vethkari are not evil. They genuinely believe they are protecting the galaxy. Whether they are protecting from the Dreamer or from your kind, I cannot say. He left without another word. Greg stood at his window, staring at the distant stars. Somewhere in that direction was Earth, the only home humanity had ever known. And deep beneath its surface, something ancient was beginning to stir. He thought about all the humans who had no idea what they truly were. The billions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species might be connected to something beyond imagination. The universe had kept this secret for billions of years. Now, at last, the truth was coming to light, and nothing would ever be the same again. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, in a facility that did not officially exist, Dr. Marcus Webb stared at his computer screen with wide, unbelieving eyes. The data made no sense. Nothing in his 30 years of geological research had prepared him for what he was seeing. Run the analysis again, he said to his assistant. There must be an error. I've run it 12 times, Doctor. The results are the same. Marcus leaned back in his chair and rubbed his tired eyes. The energy readings from Earth's core had always been strange. For decades, scientists had detected unusual patterns deep underground, signatures that did not match any known geological process. Most researchers dismissed them as instrument errors or natural anomalies. Marcus had built his career trying to prove otherwise. Now, he wished he had been wrong. The patterns were changing, growing stronger, and, worst of all, they were becoming organized. What had once looked like random noise now formed clear, repeating sequences, like a heartbeat, like breathing, like something waking up after a very long sleep. General Tara Mitchell entered the underground laboratory with 6 armed soldiers behind her. She was a military overseer of the classified project, a woman who had seen things that would give most people nightmares. But even she looked worried today. "Talk to me, Doctor," she said. "What are we dealing with?" Marcus showed her the data. The energy readings from the core have increased by 300% in the last week. They're pulsing now in regular intervals. And the pattern matches something we detected in human brain waves during deep sleep. Tara Fronad. You're saying the planet is dreaming? I'm saying something inside the planet is dreaming. And I think it started to wake up. Above them on the surface, the world was changing. In Tokyo, a businessman named Kenji stopped in the middle of a crowded street. His eyes went blank for a moment, and he saw something impossible. He saw darkness, vast and endless, stretching back to the beginning of time. He saw a consciousness so large that galaxies were like grains of sand to it. He saw Earth forming around something that had always been there, waiting. Then he blinked, and he was back on the street. People walked past him without noticing. But Kenji knew somehow that he had just seen the truth of existence. In Brazil, a young girl named Maria woke from her afternoon nap with tears streaming down her face. She told her mother that she had dreamed of being alone for a very, very long time. Billions of years of loneliness, drifting through empty space with no one to talk to. Her mother held her and said it was just a nightmare. But Maria knew it was more than that. It was a memory that did not belong to her. In New York, in London, in Cairo, in Sydney, people everywhere stopped what they were doing. They closed their eyes and saw the same vision. The same darkness, the same ancient consciousness, the same terrible, beautiful loneliness. The dreamer was reaching out, and for the first time in 4 billion years, someone was listening. Back in the underground facility, Marcus made a discovery that changed everything. He had been comparing the energy patterns from Earth's core to every known form of radiation and wave frequency. Nothing matched, but on a whim, he compared them to something else. Human DNA. The results appeared on his screen, and Marcus felt his heart stop. There were sequences in human genetic code that should not exist. Markers that did not match any evolutionary pattern. And those sequences were identical to the energy signatures from the core. "General," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I need to show you something." Tara looked at the data. At first, she did not understand what she was seeing. Then, slowly, horribly, the truth became clear. "Are you telling me," she said carefully, "that human DNA contains the same patterns as whatever's inside the Earth?" "Not just contains," Marcus replied. "We're connected to it. Every human being on this planet carries a piece of whatever is down there. We didn't just evolve near it. We evolved from it, or with it, or because of it. I don't know exactly how it works, but the connection is undeniable." Tara sat down heavily in a chair. She was a soldier. She dealt in concrete threats, in enemies she could see and fight. This was something entirely different. This was existential terror, on a scale she could not comprehend. "If this gets out," she said, "there will be panic. People will lose their minds." "I don't think we can keep it secret much longer," Marcus said. "Look." He showed her data from hospitals around the world. Millions of people were experiencing the same symptoms. Vivid dreams of cosmic loneliness. Sudden emotional episodes with no clear cause. A sense that something fundamental about reality had changed. It's communicating, Marcus said, through us, through all of us. Every human is like a tiny radio receiver, and the dreamer just started broadcasting. Far away, in the depths of space, the Vethkari had already detected what was happening. In a chamber that had not been opened in a million years, the eldest of their kind gathered to discuss the unthinkable. The eldest was a being of pure energy, ancient beyond measure. It had watched the first stars ignite. It had seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on an infinite ocean. It had helped create the Galactic Union to bring order to a chaotic universe. And it was afraid. The signatures from the Sol system have changed, one of the younger Vethkari reported. The entity is stirring. After 4 billion years, it is finally waking. We knew this day would come, the eldest said, its voice echoing through dimensions. We hoped that by isolating the humans, we could delay it forever, but they are curious creatures. They cannot stay contained. What do we do? The eldest was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something almost like sadness in its voice. The children have finally heard their parents' voice. After all this time, they know what they are. The question now is what they will become. And if they become a threat, then we will do what we must to protect the galaxy. But let us watch first. Let us see how the children of the dreamer respond to the truth of their existence. On Earth, Marcus Webb stood in his laboratory and felt something he could not explain, a warmth in his chest, a sense of connection to every other human being on the planet, a voice, not in words but in feelings, telling him that everything was about to change. The dreamer was awake, and it had finally found its children. Captain Daniel Carter had seen many things in his years of space travel. He had watched stars die. He had walked on moons that no human foot had ever touched. He had spoken with alien beings whose very existence challenged everything he thought he knew about reality. But nothing had prepared him for the news he was about to deliver to Earth. The Galactic Union has made a decision, he said, standing before a room full of world leaders in Geneva. They are sending a fleet to the Sol system. They intend to destroy Earth before the dreamer fully awakens. The room exploded into chaos. Presidents and prime ministers shouted at each other. Military generals demanded immediate action. Scientists pleaded for calm. Daniel stood in the middle of it all and felt nothing but cold, hollow fear. General Tara Mitchell, connected via secure video link from her underground facility, spoke with a voice of iron. How long do we have? 3 weeks, Daniel replied. Maybe less. Their ships can travel faster than anything we have. Can we fight them? Daniel shook his head slowly. Their technology is millions of years ahead of ours. We would be like ants trying to stop a thunderstorm. The room fell silent. For the first time in their lives, the most powerful people on Earth face a problem they could not solve with money or weapons or political maneuvering. They were simply outmatched. Meanwhile, on Nexus Point, Ambassador Greg Palmer was fighting his own desperate battle. You cannot do this, he said to Galactic Union Council, a gathering of representatives from dozens of species. You are talking about genocide. 8 billion innocent people who have done nothing wrong. The council leader, a being made of floating crystals that hummed when it spoke, responded without emotion. Your people carry the dreamer within them. Every human is a potential threat to the stability of a universe. We cannot allow the risk. But we haven't done anything. We only just learned about the dreamer ourselves. Give us a chance to understand what we are. Give us a chance to prove we are not dangerous. The Vethkari have studied your kind for billions of years, the crystal being replied. They have seen what the dreamer is capable of. They have seen what you might become. The decision is final. Greg felt command in the cold haze, put a hand on his shoulder. Come on, Ambassador. We're not going to win this fight here. As they left the council chamber, they were approached by a group of younger species, beings from civilizations that had only been spacefaring for a few million years. They looked nervous, but determined. Ambassador Palmer, one of them said, a creature with blue fur and kind eyes. Not all of us agree with the Council's decision. Many of us believe that your kind deserve a chance. Greg felt a spark of hope. Can you help us? We cannot stop the fleet, the blue creature admitted. But we can give you information. The Vethkari are not evil beings. They genuinely believe they are protecting the galaxy. But they are also afraid, and afraid beings make mistakes. What kind of information? Everything we know about the Dreamer. Everything the Vethkari have tried to hide. Perhaps if you understand what you truly are, you can find a way to save yourselves. The data was transferred to Greg's device. It contained thousands of years of research, observations, and forbidden knowledge. It was a gift that could change everything. On Earth, Dr. Kate Sullivan had returned from space to help with the crisis. She worked alongside Dr. Marcus Webb in the underground facility, both of them desperate to understand the connection between humanity and the Dreamer. Look at this, Kate said, pointing to a genetic map on her screen. The sequences that match the Dreamer's energy signature are not random. They're concentrated in the parts of our DNA that control emotions, creativity, and consciousness. Marcus nodded slowly. So the Dreamer didn't just influence our evolution. It specifically shaped the parts of us that make us human. Exactly. Our capacity for love, for art, for imagination. Our ability to dream, to hope, to feel deeply. All of it comes from the connection to the Dreamer. General Mitchell entered the lab, looking like she had not slept in days. I just received word from Ambassador Palmer. He sent us everything the Galactic Union knows about the Dreamer. Kate and Marcus spent the next several hours reading through the data. What they found changed their understanding of everything. The Dreamer was not a monster. It was not a weapon. It was a consciousness so vast and ancient that words could not describe it. It had drifted to the void for billions of years before any life existed, aware but unable to experience existence in any meaningful way. It was lonely, terribly, cosmically lonely. When it found the young Earth, it saw an opportunity. It wove itself into the forming planet and began to dream. It dreamed of feeling things, of experiencing reality through living beings. It dreamed humans into existence, not as servants or tools, but as extensions of itself, ways to finally feel what it meant to be alive. Every time a human fell in love, the Dreamer felt love. Every time a human created art, the Dreamer experienced creativity. Every time a human felt joy or sorrow, hope or despair, the Dreamer felt those things too. Humanity was not just connected to the Dreamer. They were its way of being alive. We are its children, Kate whispered, in the most literal sense possible. It created us so it wouldn't be alone anymore. And now the galaxy wants to kill us because they think we're dangerous, Marcus said bitterly. They want to kill a being that just wanted to experience existence. General Mitchell stood silently for a moment. Then she spoke. If humans are connected to the Dreamer, can we communicate with it? Can we ask it for help? Kate and Marcus looked at each other. It was a wild idea, but they were out of options. Every human carries a piece of the Dreamer, Kate said slowly. If enough of us focus, if we all reach inward to that part of ourselves that's connected to it, maybe we can make contact. It would have to be millions of people, Marcus said. Billions, maybe, all focusing on the same thing at the same time. General Mitchell pulled out her phone. Then, let's make it happen. We have 3 weeks to teach humanity how to talk to a god. The word went out across the planet, through news broadcasts and social media, through governments and grassroots movements. Scientists explained the connection between humanity and the Dreamer. Religious leaders spoke of cosmic purpose. Artists created works that tried to capture the beauty and terror of what they had learned. And slowly, hesitantly, humanity began to understand what they truly were. They were not alone. They had never been alone. Deep within each of them, in the very core of their being, lived a fragment of something eternal, something that had loved them into existence across billions of years. 3 weeks was not much time, but it was enough to try. On the day the alien fleet entered the Sol system, billions of humans closed their eyes and reached inward. They searched for that spark of connection, that thread that linked them to the dreamer and to each other. And in the darkness beneath Earth's surface, something ancient felt their call. The dreamer had been sleeping for 4 billion years. Now, at last, it was time to wake up. The alien armada was the largest gathering of military power the galaxy had ever seen. 3,000 warships from 40 different species, armed with weapons that could crack planets in half and turn stars into supernovas. They had come to destroy Earth, to end the threat of the dreamer before it could spread across the cosmos. Admiral Vioritak of the Corvani fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the blue planet grow larger on his screen. He had lived for 600 years and fought in a dozen wars. He had never felt afraid before a battle. But today, his 4 hands trembled slightly on the controls. All ships report ready. His second-in-command announced, "We can begin the bombardment on your order." Vioritak nodded. He opened a channel to address the fleet. "This is Admiral Vioritak. Today we face a threat unlike any we have encountered before. The beings on that planet are connected to something ancient and dangerous. We must do what is necessary to protect our civilizations. On my command, we will—" He stopped speaking. On the main screen, something was happening to Earth. The planet was glowing. Soft blue light emanated from within, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. It started at the core and spread outward, passing through rock and magma and water until the entire world shimmered with ethereal radiance. It was not fire. It was not destruction. It was something far more beautiful and far more terrifying. The dreamer had awakened. Every being on every ship in the fleet felt it at the same moment. A presence touched their minds, vast and ancient beyond comprehension. It did not attack them. It did not threaten them. Instead, it did something far more unexpected. It shared itself with them. Admiral Vioritak gasped as emotions flooded through him. Emotions his species had evolved past millions of years ago. He felt joy so intense it made him want to laugh and cry at the same time. He felt sorrow so deep it seemed to touch the very core of his being. He felt love, pure and unconditional, wrapping around him like warm light. These were human feelings. These were the experiences that 8 billion fragments of the dreamer felt every single day. The dreamer was showing them what it felt like to be alive. On ships across the fleet, hardened warriors fell to their knees. Scientists who had spent their lives suppressing emotion wept openly. Commanders who had ordered the deaths of millions felt the weight of those deaths for the first time, experienced the grief of every family that had lost someone they loved. It was overwhelming. It was terrifying. And it was beautiful beyond words. On Earth, Captain Daniel Carter stood on a hill outside Geneva and watched the sky fill with alien ships. He had expected death. He had expected fire raining down from above. Instead, the ships simply hung there, motionless, as their crews experienced what it meant to be human. Beside him, Dr. Kate Sullivan smiled through tears that streamed down her face. "It's working," she whispered. "The dreamer is showing them. It's showing them everything." Far away, in the depths of space, the eldest of the Vethkari felt the dreamer's touch and finally understood. For 4 billion years, the ancient being had believed the dreamer was a threat. It had feared what would happen when the entity awakened, what destruction it might bring. But the dreamer had never wanted destruction. It had never wanted conquest or domination. It had only wanted to stop being alone. The dreamer had drifted through the void for eons, conscious but isolated, aware but unable to connect with anything. It had created humanity not as weapons or servants, but as friends, as family, as a way to finally share existence with others. The eldest Vethkari, a being who had witnessed the birth of the galaxy, felt something it had not felt in 1 billion years. It felt empathy. It felt connection. It felt the terrible, wonderful weight of caring about something other than itself. "Stand down," the eldest ordered through channels that reached every ship in the fleet. "Stand down. We were wrong." Admiral Vioritak heard the order and obeyed without question. He could not have given the command to fire even if he wanted to. His hands would not move toward the weapons controls. His heart, which had been cold and efficient for 6 centuries, was too full of new feelings to allow for destruction. The fleet lowered its weapons. Ships that had come to destroy a world now drifted peacefully in orbit, their crews learning what it meant to feel. Ambassador Greg Palmer received a transmission from the Galactic Union Council. The crystal being that had ordered Earth's destruction spoke with a voice that no longer hummed with cold detachment. "We have felt what your kind feels," it said. "We have experienced existence through the dreamer's touch. We were wrong to fear you. We were wrong to try to destroy you. What happens now?" Greg asked. "Now we must learn. Your species possesses something that we lost long ago, something we evolved past in our pursuit of logic and efficiency. You possess the ability to feel deeply, to connect emotionally, to experience life rather than simply observe it. The dreamer gave you this gift." Greg smiled. "And we can share it. That's what the dreamer wants. It was alone for so long. It created us so it could feel. Now it wants to help others feel too." The council was silent for a moment. Then, for the first time in its long existence, it made a decision based on something other than cold calculation. "Let it be so. Humanity will not be destroyed. Instead, humanity will be welcomed. You will teach us what you know. You will show us what we have forgotten." On Earth, the glow faded from the planet, returning to normal. But something had fundamentally changed. The dreamer was fully awake now, connected to every human being, feeling through them, dreaming through them, living through them. And it was happy. After 4 billion years of loneliness, it was finally happy. In the months that followed, humans spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors or colonizers, but as something stranger and more wonderful. They became teachers, artists, healers of a different kind. They showed ancient species what it meant to cry at a beautiful sunset. They taught logical beings how to laugh at a joke. They helped cold civilizations remember what it felt like to hold someone they loved. Captain Daniel Carter returned to space, but not as an explorer. He traveled from world to world, sharing human music with beings who had never experienced art. He watched species that had forgotten how to smile learn the expression again. Dr. Kate Sullivan became a bridge between humanity and the Vethkari. She helped the ancient beings understand that not all power comes from technology or strength. Sometimes the greatest power is the ability to feel, to connect, to care. Ambassador Greg Palmer negotiated treaties not for land or resources, but for cultural exchange. Humans would live among alien species, sharing their emotional capacity. In return, the galaxy would protect Earth and honor the dreamer that made humanity possible. Years passed, then decades, then centuries. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They did not build an empire. Instead, they did something far more lasting. They changed the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. They reminded ancient beings what it meant to be alive. And at the center of it all, deep within Earth's core, the dreamer continued to dream. But its dreams were no longer lonely. They were filled with love and laughter, sorrow and joy, all the beautiful chaos of existence experienced through billions of human lives. On a distant world, an elderly Dr. Kate Sullivan stood watching an alien sunset. Beside her, the eldest of the Vethkari watched as well. Tears flowed down the ancient being's face of pure energy. Tears that should have been impossible for such a creature. "Thank you," the Vethkari said quietly, "for teaching us to feel again." Kate smiled and reached out to touch the being's hand. "Thank you for giving us a chance. That's all the dreamer ever wanted. A chance to share existence with others. A chance to not be alone." The sunset painted the sky in colors that no human had ever seen before. But Kate felt them all, felt the beauty and wonder of a universe that was finally learning to feel. Somewhere, deep within her chest, she felt the dreamer's presence. It was happy. After billions of years, it had finally found what it had been searching for. Connection, family, love. The children of the dreamer had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.